Hi, I'm Christine Eubanks. I'm Director of Audiology at VCU Medical Center, downtown Richmond.
And I'm Irene Schmaltz. I am the coordinator for the Guide by Your Side program in the state of Virginia. And today I thought what we would do is have this wonderful opportunity of meeting the audiologist, and I had wanted to ask her a couple questions because I get a lot of calls from the parents who have just found out their child has a hearing loss. And a lot of the questions are like, is it true that it happens often that families have children that they don't have anybody in the family that has a hearing loss? I mean, is that, what do you think about that?
That's pretty common. Most children with hearing loss are born to families where there is no history of hearing loss. Many of the genes related to hearing loss are recessive, and so that's not the kind of hearing loss that runs in families. And some hearing losses are caused by environmental factors or just random mutations. So it's.
And so what criteria do they use for getting a cochlear implant? I hear so much about the cochlear implant in terms of, you know, if the child's been identified with very little hearing or deaf, you know, what's the typical procedure for that with the cochlear implant?
There's always a trial with hearing aids first. You have to get a good hearing test, and in a very young child, that's a process. And so there's going to be some period of time where you're doing more hearing testing and firming up the diagnosis and the levels of hearing loss, and you're doing a hearing aid trial during that time. And if you notice that the child's not responding to sound and the hearing aids are optimized and you've got a pretty good idea of the hearing loss and the child's not getting any benefit from hearing aids, that's when you consider a cochlear implant. The implant is for those people who don't get any benefit from hearing aids.
And how long is that? Because that's a really important question I'm going to ask you.
Right.
How long, because I've had a lot of parents come up to me and say, you know, I put the hearing aids on and I really don't see any response.
Don't get any response, right.
And so how long of that period are you talking about?
It depends a lot on the age of the child. If the child is identified through newborn hearing screening, they're not old enough to have the surgery until they're at least, the guidelines say 12 months old, but there are some centers that will do surgery at maybe 7 or 8 months old. So you've got that 6 or 7 month period where you might as well go ahead and do a hearing aid trial and see if you get some response. And we have some children who wear a cochlear implant in one ear and a hearing aid in the other ear, or they need implants in both ears.
But I'm just still wondering, is there a window of opportunity where, you know, is it 4 weeks before you might see the change, or?
I think there are a couple of things going on. One is whether you've got the best possible idea of what their hearing is. So you may think that the child has better hearing than they really do, and the hearing aids aren't turned up enough. And so if you get no response after a week or two, maybe you turn the hearing aids up and see if you get a good response. Some children are slow to give you that kind of response. I mean, some children are very expressive and you know, respond kind of obviously when they hear sounds, and other kids are more, you know, they're looking at their environment and they're a little more subtle in their responses. And we're talking about babies, you know, and older kids, you're looking to see if they start reacting to things in their environment and mimicking some of those sounds. You know, that's going to give you some good idea of what they're hearing.
That's very helpful. That's what I was kind of looking for, and I just wanted to make sure that I was giving out the right information on it.
Right. Yeah, I think the key is to have as good an idea of what the hearing loss is like, because some kids hear all the different pitches at the same level, and some kids hear low pitch sounds better than they hear high pitch sounds, and so the hearing aid has to be balanced so that it's not too loud, but it's loud enough, and that they're hearing everything optimally.
It may not be a good fit sometimes, because if they're throwing it off, then it just doesn't seem like it's a good fit. And so sometimes you may need to go back to the audiologist and say, look, you know, he's always taking him off. I worry if that's a good fit. Is that a good school of thought, or?
Well, I've got a couple answers to that. One is it could be too loud. One is it could be too soft, and he's not getting any benefit from it. And you know, one is that it physically may not feel good on his ear. the ear mold is too loose, it's too tight, the tubing is rubbing, the hook is rubbing on his ear, it's flopping off his ear. So, you have to kind of optimize that and make sure that it's staying on his head and be comfortable. And then you have to rule out behavioral issues, okay? If we're talking about 2 or 3-year-old kids, if they notice that when they take the hearing aid off and throw it across the room, everybody in the room gets excited, hey, that's fun, okay? So sometimes you have to get a sense of whether he'll tolerate the hearing aid sometimes when he's doing something that involves sound and he's interested, and then when he's bored, he throws it across the room. So you have to kind of figure out the hearing-related parts and the sensory-related issues of annoyance, and then the behavioral part.